Hello everybody, it's Kristi from Funky Junk Inspirations. How are we doing on this fantastic Stencil Sunday? Okay, I'm going to take this small chair back here and I'm going to put some Mod Podge on it, and we're going to do the crackle effect using Mod Podge. So here I am just putting it on there. It's plain old matte Mod Podge. Now ideally you want to try to do your paint strokes, you know, all one together, I guess you would say. You don't want to keep going back over it a bunch of times or whatever. And I did find that you do want to put the Mod Podge on a little bit thick, not super, super thin. And that gets you a little bit thicker of a crackle. Okay, so next I'm going to use Rust-Oleum chalked paint. I buy it in the quart and I put it in FIFO bottles. And I'm just going to put a layer of that over the top of the Mod Podge while the Mod Podge is still wet. And again, you want to try not to do a bunch of brush strokes, but as you can see, I can't help myself but keep going over it and over it. But anyway, do the best you can. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the dryer and we're going to dry that, and the crackle effect will start showing as soon as it starts getting dry and the heat gets to it. It'll start showing a little bit of a crackle. As you can see there as I move my dryer over a little bit. I didn't speed this up too much because I thought you'd want to see this process of this getting, turning into a crackle. Okay, as you can see, this crackled very nicely on this side over here. Now I did sand the chair back a little bit. Okay, now the back right here has a little bit of a different finish on it, so it turns out a little differently, but it still turns out cute. I want to talk about my co-host right here, which is Mary from the Painted Peach. Make sure you go check out her channel and subscribe to her and hit that bell to get notifications. She does some wonderful things. Okay, so I got all the Mod Podge on, and here we are putting the paint on the back. And like I said, this back had a little bit of a different finish. It was kind of bubbled up a little bit, so it doesn't crackle quite as nice. And I also didn't put the Mod Podge on quite as thick as I did on the front. So I probably should have done that a little bit better. But what was happening here was my paint was bubbling a little bit. So what I did is I took my scraper and hit those bubbles just to give it, a rustic look, a chippy look, or whatever on the back. You're not going to see the back and the front at the same time, so it doesn't really matter. But I do that, and then I'm going to take my sandpaper, and I'm just going to go over it real quick and get that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the top, and what I'm doing here is I'm wiping that excess Mod Podge because it's not all the way dry around, along the top and the bottom. So I didn't have like a bubble of paint or a bubble of the Mod Podge. So I'm just going to take the paint. I'm not worrying about doing the Mod Podge first on this to make it crackle. We are just going to get it covered in white, just so that our whole chair back is white. Now this is a smaller chair back than some of them that I've done before. I don't know if maybe it probably came off of a kid's chair, or it might have been a little fancier chair that had, maybe spindles on the side that helped do the back or whatever. But it is a little bit smaller than some of the others that I did, but it's still just as cute. It doesn't stand up quite as well as the other does, but what I ended up doing was I put it in a plate stand, and that looked really cute, just to have it sit in a plate stand. Or you could have it lean against something if you wanted to. But these chair backs are a lot of fun to do some stenciling on. So there we go. We got our sides all painted white, so our whole chair back is white with the crackle. I decided I wanted to sand that just a little bit because when you stencil, you want to make sure your background and stuff is pretty flat, and I didn't want to have any bubbles there. So I just sanded that a little bit. I just kind of wiped it off to get the dust off. I am going to go ahead and put my Mod Podge up. I cleaned the top up to put the lid on so that I don't end up with my lid stuck on there. I don't want it to dry out. So now we're on to our stenciling time. And of course I'm using Essential Stencils. If you go to the Essential Stencil website, use the code FUNKYJUNK, you will save 10% at checkout. So make sure you do that to save a little bit of money there. Okay, so now I'm going to do this sunflower. I'm going to start out with this light yellow right here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get paint on my paintbrush. I'm going to offload because less is best when you're stenciling. After I got that light yellow on, I decided that it needed to be a little bit darker, so I decided to add a little bit of orange paint to it. I kind of did it towards the center and left the ends kind of white. I ended up changing my mind about 14 times on what color this sunflower is supposed to be. Not really 14, but it felt like it. So anyway, I did the center of the brown, and I used the stencil brush that had the orange on it. So then I kind of went around and hit the edges with the brown, the orange, and the yellow all together. Then I came back in with some orange to hit in there. Then I decided to dry it, and I went ahead and grabbed some of the yellow again and hit it with the yellow. So my sunflower is kind of orange, brown, and yellow, just kind of mixed up. I think it turned out kind of cute. Looks kind of cute on here anyway. So just play with it till you get it how you like it, right? It's just paint. It doesn't matter. It's just paint. Okay, since I got my paper towel all used up, I'm just going to grab another one. And I'm just going to put a tish of green paint on here. This is just Kelly green paint. And we are going to do our stem and our leaves on our sunflower. Now this is a set of 3 tag stencils, and they came together, so I decided that I wanted to use them together. Okay, so I decided I needed to dry that a little bit before I put the next one on. And as you can see how my sunflower is kind of all different colors. I really like that rather than it being plain. Now this is lavender. So, excuse me, I yawned. Anyway, this is lavender. I'm going to do the stems all green, and then we're going to use a dark purple plum color to do the lavender pieces. Because, you know, the lighter the color on the white is hard to show up, so I wanted to use a little bit of a darker color on there. So here's where I'm putting that lavender on there, and you can see I just barely need any paint for this right here. Okay, I'm going to lift that off. I think this is turning out really cute. I like how it looks. The other stencil, this next one, has cotton in it. Now, you're going to say, Kristi, cotton is white. How are you going to do that? I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it a little bit different than, you know, how it is on the stencil. So I'm just going to use the burnt umber, and I'm going to go around and do that. This stencil here is just the outline of the cotton pieces. Okay, now I don't like how the crackle shows through the cotton pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white paint and I'm going to fill all those in so that they are solid in the center. Hindsight, after I have this all done and it's sitting and looking at it in my living room, I probably should have done a little bit of an off-white so it would have stood out just a little bit more on there, either on the chair an off-white or done the actual cotton pieces in an off-white. But that's not what I did. So anyway, we can always take our projects and think of 500 other ways we could have done it, right? So next time I may do that. So now what I'm doing is I'm laying this stencil right back on. Not even going to add any paint to my paintbrush. And I'm going to go over that so it puts those outlines back on there. That's what's nice about some of these outline stencils. You can lay them down, get your outline, and then paint on the inside. I like how this little guy came. I was showing you guys that it was the stencil pack. It was all 3 of those. Here is the final reveal. I really like how this chair back came out. It looks really cute. I think it's fun and springy looking. You could have it anywhere. I want to thank Mary, my co-host from the Painted Peach, for our Stencil Sunday. Make sure you go check her out and subscribe to her channel. Use code FUNKYJUNK at checkout on Essential Stencils to save 10%. And make sure you subscribe, comment, and like. That helps all of us out. And I'll see you guys next time.